Hello. In this video, we will be doing another lab. It's going to be on storage account. Okay, the scenario is this. See, we are planning for profile setup, user profile setup, roaming user profile setup. For that, we need a storage account or some storage space. So we are going with storage account. So what we do, we will create a storage account and then we will create a Azure file share inside this particular storage account. It's a file share. And this file share, we can store files. And inside this file share only, we will be storing even the user profile related data. So all the user profile related data will be stored. But according to our lab cycle, so what we do after creating storage account and then the file share is that, so we will try to attach this file share as a computer in our domain controller. So we have a domain controller, we have installed, we have created necessary users group. So if you go up, see, we have a domain controller. We already have so many organization units. And then this one organization, WVD Infra, we will be using it for adding this particular file share. And we have users group. Similarly, now we are going to add a computer and that computer will be representing this particular file share. So that is what the overall idea about this particular lab. Let's begin. So this is our lab. It's about implement manage storage for AVD. So we'll be performing all these 5 tasks. Let's start with the first task. Let me go. This is my lab. Okay. This is my lab computer. Let me close all things. Okay, this is my lab computer. Let me go and start portal.azure.com. I need to access Azure portal. And then I have to connect to this DC machine. So this is our domain controller. In this machine only, we will be even adding one computer object, and that will be representing our file share. First and foremost, you will go to your VM and start all the VM. In my case, I have already started. It is running. What you do, you have to select, click on start. It will take almost 20 seconds to start it. Till then, you have to wait. Once it is started, then you can resume the video. Once VM is started, we can connect to the VM. For connecting to the VM, let me get the public IP. On lab machine, I'll go for RDP. Select RDP, paste the IP and try to connect. To key in the password, say OK. Yes. So now I have connected to the machine. DC, domain controller VM. On domain controller VM, let's initiate a new Microsoft Edge. And in here, let's try to log in inside our Azure portal account. Same account we have to use for logging in. And once done, we will be creating a storage account. So let me go and create a storage account. Create. I need to give this data. So this is my subscription and I don't have the resource group 22. So I have to create a resource group called 22. So AZ14022RG. And the storage account name, you can give any unique number. It should not go beyond 15 character in length. Better you give it a 10 or 11 digit name, character name for the storage account. And then the region, let it be Central India. I hope we are creating all the resources in Central India. And the performance standard redundancy will be GRS. And then this to be enabled next, no modification, review and create. Okay, let me also say create. So now we have created our storage account. Once the deployment succeeds, then we will go and create a file share. And this file share will be used for storing the file. So any type of file we can store, but here in our use case, we might be storing our user profile related files. Let's go back to portal and check whether it is created. So let us wait for some time. And then we can go ahead with task 2, and that is about creating a file share. Great. Let's go to the resource. On the resource, if you go to data store and file share, and you can create a file share. And then name for the file share, what I'm going to give is this, and then the access tier to be transaction optimized, and create. So now this is also done. Next is we need to enable ADDS authentication for storage account. So what exactly we will do? Yes, this is the storage account, and this storage account has a file share. So here only all the user profile data will be stored. So now how the individual user will authenticate this file share for accessing their data, either to read, modify, delete. So we need to give some sort of permissions, right? So for that, what are we doing is we are going to use ADDS authentication, Azure Directory, it's not Azure, Active Directory Domain Services only we are going to use for authentication. So what we will do, we will just join this file share as a computer, and that becomes one object. Our file share will become an object here. And for this object, we already have user objects like AD user 1 up to AD user 9, and then the admin. For all of them, to access this particular file share, the computer object, we will give authentication. So through Active Directory authentication, the users will be accessing this particular file. So for that, we need to do this enable ADDS authentication. So let's open a new tab, go for searching for the GitHub and hit enter. In here, we need to download a module called AZ File Hybrid. So this is a module which we will download to our DC machine. And we use this file for setting up this authentication using ADDS. Okay. So the file got downloaded. So let me open the file, extract the file, and extract content to this particular directory or folder. So just if you want, you can copy and use type text for copy pasting it. You need to be very careful while giving the name. It should be exactly matching the sequence, because this path we will be using it later in our command. So make sure that you're not making any mistake. And I can say extract. Now all the files are extracted. So this is AZ Files Hybrid. It's just a module. So we can use this module for making ADDS authentication for this particular file share. Okay, fine, this is done. Now let's go and execute these commands once again. Let me minimize this. Let's go open PowerShell IEC as administrator. So we will connect to Azure account, get some data. So what data we get? So our file share related data we will get, and use that data for adding that particular file share as a computer here. Fine, let me go and execute the first command. Let me go and execute the second command. This will help us to interactively log into Azure account, and this command will actually log inside our account. It'll throw a web browser. You have interactive browser. For just throwing this interactive browser only, we are running this command. Fine, you have to use your email ID. And once it is authenticated, then we can go and execute this command. So for this command, let me go and open a command prompt and put all these commands first. So we get our subscription ID, our Azure account subscription ID, And we also get the resource group where our storage account is, and then the storage account name. Everything we are going to get it. So let's run these commands. And so it took subscription ID, resource group name, where the storage account is, and the storage account name. All this minimal data is retrieved. Now with that minimal data, we are going to domain join this Azure file. And also we have to run this command. So this command will also install the module which we have imported in our first statement. So let's do this command execution. See, we are going to join Azure storage account for authentication purpose. So which resource group name, what is the storage account name, and then type. So as what object you're going to create. So we are going to create it as a computer. So that is why we are using account type as computer account. And exclusively, we are going to use an organizational unit called WVD infra. So this computer account gets created under this organization unit. And this computer account is pointing to my storage account. That's it. And we are joining it for authentication purpose. And all these things will be done by this particular module. So that is why we need to install the module to run this particular command. So this command called join AZ storage account for auth is part of this particular module. Okay, now let's copy this command and execute it. It will take some time. Let us wait. Okay, once that command gets executed, then I'll go for this command. This command talks about storage account, get storage account name. And this is where the storage account name will be. And then we will be just ensuring whether this particular authentication is enabled or not with this particular command. Let us wait. The previous command has to complete its execution successfully. Done. So now we can go for running these commands. Let's say Control A, C, and come here and paste it. Yeah. So if everything is configured successfully, that authentication is configured successfully, then we get this particular data. And that's it. So we are getting the required data. Fine. So now let's go and configure role-based access control permission. So even though we domain joined it, still we have to go to Azure side and then give permission for this particular file share. Who can access this file share? So while accessing, they will authenticate. So authentication is done. Authorization we are going to make. So whether, yeah, the users are authenticated, whether do they have permission to access this file share? And that's where role-based access control should be given. And that is about task 4. Let's go and do this particular task. Let me go to the Azure account. On Azure account, let me go to the file share. So this is the file share. By any chance, if you have missed it, what you can do, you can come here, file share, select the file share on your storage account and go to access control. On access control, add role assignment. So you need to assign some role. Which role I have to assign is SMB share contributor. Let me search for that. So what SMB share contributor will do? Allows read, write, delete access to Azure file over SMB. Yes, server message block is what the protocol we will be using. File share is somewhere located in Azure cloud, and we are trying to access the data from other location. And that is what it is. Like, so who all can read, write, delete access. Who all are going to get this particular role-based access control. and that is WVD users. All our Windows virtual desktop user or Azure virtual desktop users should get this permission. Then only their profile data gets added to the file share. So let me search for WVD users, select that and say review and create. So this is done. Now, similarly, we have to also add another permission called SMB share elevated contributor. It means like almost everything they can do here, because we're going to give some elevated contributor role to our admins. So let's continue. Add another role assignment. Search for the given role. And if you see here, allow read, write, delete, and modify NTFS permissions access. So we will be modifying some file permissions here. And that permission, we are giving it to the admins. Let me search for admin, review and assign, and assign. So once that is done, then we have to go and configure the Azure file system permissions. Who will do? Admin, because we have given the proper role for the admin so that they can do. And system student user is also one of the admin. Okay, fine. Now let's go and execute these commands. What are we doing? Like we are getting the resource group name and then the storage account name. And then the account key, storage account key. We need this for authentication purpose. Control A, Control C, come here for executing that command. Yeah, this is done. Now let's add this file share as a drive in our domain controller itself. For that, this command we are going to use. Let us wait until this command get executed. Yeah, it took some time for connecting, so it got connected. So now we can check the access control list of this particular drive for the individual users. See, there are different users who's having different types of permissions are displayed here. And let's try to change that permission. What are we going to do is like we are giving WVD admins full access and WVD users only modify access. The one who has created for them, like we are giving some couple of other access as well. Okay, so let's run this particular command. And that's it. So this is how you will be completing this particular lab. Next, we will see in the other video. Thank you.